this video, we're going to provide you with 10 tips to nail that interview in Germany. Hey, I'm Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And I'm Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we help expats settle into life in Germany more
Smoothly.
And make sure to stick around until the end of the video, because we will provide you some tips on how you can actually get an interview if you have not gotten one already. And again, all the links to everything we will be talking about will be in the description box below. So make sure to check that out.
Yeah.
So first of all, who are we to talk about interview tips in Germany?
Two girls. No, I'm just kidding. So in this in this video, I will share with you my experience as a hiring manager in Germany. What does hiring manager mean? So I was not in HR or a personnel person per se, so it wasn't my full-time job. My full-time job was to lead a team and maximize sales for the company. But of course, as in such a position, I also need to make sure that my team is fully staffed and I have the right team members, right? So a hiring manager, my number one goal next to growing sales and managing is to hire the right people.
So at the end of the day, you had the decision whether you would take that person for your team or not.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I come from the perspective that I have been interviewed in Germany from the other side. So I've been on the other side of the coin as an international in Germany, right? Yeah. I think that's the point. Just to have a little bit more of a background story, obviously the work or the job of the cover letter and the resume is to get you an interview.
Yes.
But it's in the interview
where you get the job.
Exactly. So you need to nail that interview to hopefully nail that job.
Yeah.
So let's step into tip number one, which is actually research the company.
It is super important that you prepare and research the company and the job and the people that you are getting interviewed by. It's nothing worse than actually, not knowing. For example, in my previous company, it's a family-owned business. Well, it's a big business, but still family owned. And there's one founder. And if you, as an interviewee, don't know the name of that founder, I'm like, okay, you don't really care.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the number one thing. Know your company. Know the people that you are getting interviewed by. Like research them on LinkedIn. Like how long have they been in the company? Like just, some facts. Where you can also gather some questions where we get to later. And also research the company culture, right? Like what are you working into? Especially in Germany, super important. How are you going to address your interviewees? Like, is the culture more casual and it's actually like the do culture, right?
Yeah.
So it's a first name basis, or is it super formal and you need to use Z and the last name? You might not know this from just researching. But you have to pay attention when you actually meet the person. How do they introduce themselves, right?
Yeah, to give some actionable tips on how you can research the company, I would suggest to look into the social media of the company, check what they're promoting there, how they're doing stuff, because a lot of the projects that are not necessarily 100% related to the company also tend to be on social media, like working culture and whatnot. Second thing is that when you get that interview request or that invitation, there you would see the names of the people that are in the call. So copy that email, those names, do research, as you mentioned, on LinkedIn or in any other social media platforms where you can find information about these people. For example, I was interviewed once by a technical manager and I found out about her a lot of information because I looked on LinkedIn. She had a YouTube channel where she did electronic music. She was into this whole alternative scene. So I already knew kind of like the vibe of this person. And you could build more rapport by knowing a little bit about that person that's going to interview you. Also, make sure a lot of companies have like their own career blogs. Or like the whole section where you can find more information about the company. I also worked at Vodafone for some time, and there when I was preparing for the interview, I went down the rabbit hole of what links can Vodafone provide to read everything about them. And there I learned about their social initiatives, about how they treat their employees, and I learned so much from just digging also not only into what you see as the skin of the company, but digging deep, in, like you said, into the culture for that. So that's definitely prepare for that.
Absolutely, yes, as much as you can.
Yeah. Number 2 on our list is be on time.
Duh.
Especially in Germany, I would say. And on time doesn't mean like at specifically, let's say your interview is at 11:30. It doesn't mean that you should be there at 11:30. Yeah. It means that you should be there.
To be there 10 to 15 minutes early.
Yes.
Yes, definitely. And so obviously this is the goal, right? But if you cannot make it on time because of something that happened out of your
control.
If you are arriving by car and there was an accident, if the train is delayed, I mean, by train, just take a train that gets you there early. But whatever reason happens, it can happen, and no one, even Germans, won't be mad at you if you let them know. Like call in and say, look, I'm delayed, I'm so sorry about it, this happened, and I'll be probably late by this time.
Yeah.
This goes, I would say, not just for job interviews, but general culture. And if like you go to a dinner and you're late 5 minutes,
You also tell
you
them.
tell them, you're like, look, I'll be late 5 minutes. And Jen in the beginning was like, 5 minutes? I'm like, yeah, but that's the way to do it. That's polite.
So if you're not going to be there sitting at a desk ready for the interview at the time of the interview, even if you're 1 to 5 minutes later, you have to let them know as well.
Yeah.
I would say. And why do you need to be early? So for example, I've always had the experience that when I arrive to a new company, I'm a bit lost of where to go, what to find out. I remember I went to this one interview, and it was such a complicated setup because they were like in this kind of warehouse kind of looking thing. Wasn't so clear where the company is. So here I am, 10 minutes, spending time trying to find my way. Luckily, I was there like super early. So imagine it takes you 5 minutes to find the right person to talk to. Another, let's say 5 minutes to check into the company. And then if you spend 10 minutes or 5 or 15 minutes waiting at the couch, at least you know you're there, you know, like at the waiting, not at the couch, but at the waiting area.
At the reception, yeah.
At the reception, then you know you're there. And then if the interviewer is late, that's a different story, right? But you were there on time.
Yeah.
So again, on time doesn't mean on the spot. Be there 10 to 15 minutes before.
Right. And I had similar experiences that I couldn't find the entrance. I mean,
Yeah.
you have the house number, but you just can't find the entrance sometimes in these big buildings.
Yeah.
If you have the interview online, also be in the call. Like if it's Zoom, you can already enter like the waiting room earlier. Be there earlier also. If it's Skype, there is no waiting room, but just be online because you usually see the green online. And then the next question would be who initiates the call. That's a very good question.
Well, if it's on Skype, you would receive the call, but
Yeah.
then be attentive to your computer a few minutes before. I would say 5 minutes is enough. If it's Google Hangouts, I've had the experience that when you go into a Google Hangouts call, you think you're going into the call, but no, Google Hangouts, you need to configure your settings first, make sure that works, and then you can join the call, which you could also have a waiting room, and Zoom also you have a waiting room. So if it's a Skype or any other software
The company initiates.
the company,
usually.
but it's important that you're there at least 5 minutes before.
Absolutely.
To take the call.
Yeah.
So number 2. So number 3 is dress accordingly.
Again, a dress code is very different in every culture.
Yes.
And especially in Germany, there is actually a rule that is not really talked about. And this goes back to preparing and researching. So part of your research should be the culture of the company and the dress code of the company. Like Jen mentioned, look at the social media, look how people, are dressed. Because if it's not banking, where you're expected to wear a suit, right? It could be that the culture and the dress code is somewhat less formal. However, it's super important that you dress as close to the culture as possible. Because if you dress in a suit and it's super casual, you don't match the culture. You're stiff. You and me as an interviewer is like, okay, you didn't do your research, and it's I no matter how the interview goes, I already have this predisposition, shouldn't have, but I have, that you probably won't match the culture, right? So my golden rule is find out the official dress code, and if it's nowhere to be seen or written, call the company up. Call the company up. They usually always have like some reception, customer service, whatever, and just say, look, I'll be coming for an interview and I want to prepare. Can you tell me what the dress code is?
Yeah.
And first of all, already, if it's a smaller company, they're like, whoa, hey, who's having an interview? This person just prepared. That's already a super, like, ding, like star. And second of all, you really know what to expect. And then dress one level on top of that. Dress a little bit better than what the dress code is.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I had the example that I had an interview once at a media agency, and they are super casual. The interview was held like in a patio while we were having a couple of beers, actually. So there, obviously, if I would have showed up like super dressed up, whoa, not blending in. If a guy shows up there with a suit already, it's like, this is not the right place. There could be a thing that you're overdressed, and there could be a thing that you're underdressed. Yeah. So again, number 4 is to translate your achievements into clear benefits.
Yes. So in the conversation, first of all, you'll be asked questions, right? And most likely you will get some sort of questions.
The typical questions.
Yeah, about your achievements, about what makes you stand out, why you're unique, whatsoever. Be prepared for that. Know what sets you apart, and be able to talk about not just your tasks in your previous jobs, but the achievements of those tasks, like the translation of it, right? Like explain what the benefit for the company was, to really highlight, look, this is what I have been doing, and this is what I'm ready to do for you and your team, or you and your company.
Yeah. Could you give a concrete example, for example?
So since, like, let's talk about sales. Don't just say, yeah, I achieved 300 sales. That's totally out of context. I have no idea
what that means,
what the benchmark
right?
is, right? Also, don't just say, yeah, I increased sales by 10%, because 10%, that maybe in your setting was amazing, because before, the average was 1%, but it could also be not so good, because before the average, or my expectation would be at least 30% increase, right? So put it into context, and like I said, give the benefit of the company. Like the 10% sale increase allowed us to get like X amount more customers, to grow the team, to expand to another country, to the benefit that that your achievement led to.
If you are a developer, for example, I worked in a company where we achieved as a team as well. I was part of this kind of like
Achievement?
No, the core team to develop this, that we rewrote kind of like the whole front end. If you are not developer, sorry, a bit technical, the whole front end for the website, and this increased the speed of the page, meaning it decreased the load time. And if I were to say this, okay, cool. But the interesting fact for a non-technical person is that by this increase of speed or decrease of loading time, conversion rate increased by 20%.
Which
so
is
sales
huge.
increased.
Yeah.
So when you give this whole context of like, you can say, oh yeah, I rewrote the whole front end. Okay, cool. But what are the benefits of this? What did this translate as a positive thing to your company? So every time you sell it like this, it sounds, oh, actually then your job had a direct correlation to increasing the sales, which at the end of the day is what every company wants. Sales. Doesn't matter how clean your code is or not, at the end of the day is how much money are we making.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so what else? Number 5 on our list is like to not talk bad about your previous employer.
Yes, this is...
or employers.
Yeah, this is very big in Germany, because loyalty in Germany is very important. And if you badmouth or talk badly about your previous employer, I have the impression this could happen to my company. And this is not... How do I know that you're going to stick around for more than a year or two, and then not badmouth about me, my
or
company,
team,
my team in the next interview, right? So this is really a no-no. You will be asked for the reasons why you want to change jobs and why you want to leave your previous employer, and you should definitely answer those questions. But for example, in my case, it was once that the job ended up being a lot more technical than I anticipated. So it was really more about my job set per se, like what I had to do, than the company, right? It was more about that I expected to have more international contact than I actually ended up having. So it was more that my expectation setting that I had for my job was different, and I don't want to continue in this than the company per se.
Yeah, I think always putting it like your expectation was different, that always works. For example, I also worked in a company where I really disliked the whole system of how they work, the whole processes or lack thereof, the chaos of it. And I could have easily like badmouth them like, oh, they're super chaotic. No, but I put it in the perspective of like, my expectation was to be in a more like process-driven company to achieve goals faster without so much chaos, and that is not how the company works, so I'm not a good fit for that.
Which is already, that's not how a company works. It's already borderline, I would say.
It has worked.
just think about it beforehand. Again, preparation.
Yes, preparation.
Why do you want to change jobs? What can you argue? What you want to achieve? Because you have to have a goal to get a job, right? What you want to achieve with this new company that you could not achieve with the old company.
Yeah, maybe that's a better tip,
that should be your answer.
Yeah, and again, not bad mouthing.
Exactly.
Yeah, which could happen very easily if you're super frustrated at your current job, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also maybe a better example, in one company that I was, which I was very frustrated, I didn't have any opportunity of growth. Yeah. So when I changed companies, I said, look, I've been wanting to grow for the past X amount of time in this company. Unfortunately, the circumstances has not allowed me to do it, because also how the company has been structured. So I'm looking for opportunities of growth outside of that company.
I mean, that is amazing. Like I always look for people who have, again, a purpose and a goal and want to grow.
Yeah, so with that one you would have hired me, yeah? Okay, number 6 on our list is to be confident, authentic, and engaged.
Yes.
So maybe this is a bit more of a German perspective as well?
Yes, I would agree. So obviously, I said obviously again, sorry, not obviously. In a interview in Germany, it is not a one-sided interrogation.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It's not a one-sided interrogation, but we want to have a conversation, right? So we want to get to know you, and you as an interviewer should get to know the company as well. Meaning that in the conversation, you should be your true self. Authenticity is super, super important. I should be able to understand who you are. That means you should not oversell yourself, because then it's very, very, I mean, it could happen quite fast that I would think, wow, that is, you're full of yourself. You know, it's like, how does that match my team, right? And if you are not confident, that would be like, whoa, how is that person supposed to achieve our goals? So be yourself, but of course you need to portray confidence without being cocky, and you need to be authentic without being too shy. So you just need to find the right balance, that you have an authentic conversation and basically build rapport.
Yeah, I would agree. I am I don't know if you have noticed this on video, but I really enjoy making people laugh and smile. I think I'm quite quirky sometimes, and I don't shy away from this in an interview. If I have an opportunity for a joke, I take it. And most often than not, I would say I have a 95% success rate. I make the other party laugh, because this is me having a genuine conversation with someone, to have laughs, to be able to talk lightly about subjects and not super like strict and anything. And that's my personality, and I really try to not obviously over the top do it, but do it in a way that naturally that they know, oh, actually Jen is a fun girl, which I am. If I would be a serious person, obviously that would not be, I wouldn't want to be a fun girl if I'm serious, because that would not, correlate. But at least be true to yourself.
Exactly.
And don't be shy to be who you are, I would say.
And don't oversell yourself. Don't tell me how awesome you are in all aspects of life.
Yeah, because no one's perfect, and obviously we all have our strengths and weaknesses, right?
Yeah, totally.
So that's cool. So what else here? Oh, number 7 is to know your worth and be ready to talk about salary.
So, I mean, it always depends a little bit on which interview it is, like, because usually, depending on the company, there's more than one. But whether you talk about it in that particular interview or not, you need to be ready to talk about your salary expectation. And you need to know your worth, and not in the way like, so if you're being asked, so, what is your salary expectation? What do you want to earn? To be like, well, I thought about, no, I'm sorry. You need to, again, be confident, and you need to know the kind of like market average. You do, again, goes back to research, but also you need to know what do you want to get paid to live your lifestyle, to feel confident, and also to stay motivated, right? Because there's nothing worse than agreeing to an underpaid salary, and then 6 months in,
you're super frustrated with
and it's super hard to get that pay raise. So know what you want, know what you can ask for, and do it in a confident way.
As a hiring manager, because my strategy has always been to give a range of salary.
That would be my next point, yeah.
Okay. Would you accept that as a hiring manager?
To be honest, as me, because obviously I also had interviews, right?
Right.
I have done both. I've given ranges, and I've given a drop dead one number. And I went better with a drop dead one number.
Okay.
And as a hiring manager, I prefer a drop dead one number, because again, it shows me confidence.
Okay.
And it shows me where this person really sees themselves and where they stand. If I give a range, especially then the question is, how big is the range? And then ask, why a range? Like, what is it that you want?
Okay.
So
interesting.
if you ask me, and again, of course, there are tons of opinions on that topic out there, I would prefer a drop dead answer.
Okay. Maybe again, it could be also like a cultural thing, right? Because Germans prefer a direct answer over a wishy-washy answer. If you are a hiring manager in Germany, right, what do you prefer? A range of salary or a dead number? I want this much. Please let us know in the comments below. We would love to learn and to have more insights into this topic,
and
right?
Discussions,
Yeah, that would be super cool. Okay, number 8 is to have questions prepared for your interview.
Absolutely, yes.
For your interviewer.
Yes.
I would be the interviewee for your interviewer. Yes.
Yeah. So 100%, you need to have questions ready. And in Germany, you might not have that brainwash yet, because you might not have appreciated the perks that we have in our work culture. But when I say questions, I mean more questions than, and how many vacation days do I get? And, do you pay overtime? And, all those things that are a little bit selfish, maybe. Ideally, those things should get answered already in like the career page or I don't know what,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
But not always. Those questions are important and you should definitely ask them because you need to know what you're getting yourself into. But don't make those your first questions.
First questions, yeah. I would say a lot of questions related to the company or the team that you're joining. One of my favorite questions to ask is, what's your biggest challenge currently in your team? What are you struggling with the most, to see if also I am a candidate that can help with those challenges, right?
Also, what is your expectation for me? Like,
Exactly.
what is my goal here in, let's say, the first year?
Yeah.
So basically, questions that show the interviewer that you are really interested, that you're interested in your job, the prospective job, interested in the company and the company's goal, but also interested in the manager. Like if this is, it's different for HR and the hiring manager, right? But if I would be your hiring manager, show me that you are interested in my leading style. Like what do you expect? What is my expectation of you? Like, and what can you expect of me as your manager?
Yeah.
Right? So really show your interest and your depth, because if you don't have questions, I'm sorry, I'm out. I'm not interested in you because you clearly only want a job to get a paycheck and you don't want to grow this company.
Yeah. So that's super interesting. Yeah.
Wow,
so definitely.
I'm like talking very tough here.
Yeah, very. Yeah, I feel like we're in an interview with you here. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, number 9 on our list. So I would say this one. Okay, number 9 still. I would consider that I've done it too. Is to discuss next steps.
Yes.
So do not leave that interview without knowing what's going to happen next. And I would say not all hiring managers or not every person that's interviewing is so good at giving you what the next steps are.
I agree.
So it's super important to ask, okay, what happens afterwards? Yeah. So I also worked in a company where there was actually like 6 interviews. But I knew from the beginning there were 6 interviews because I asked, okay, what are the next steps that are going to happen, right? Like if I pass the next round, is there another round? Is there another round after that? Or, what happens? To have a full overview, okay. I need to pass 6 interviews to even have the consideration of getting the offer or not.
I mean, it's again for you to good to know like what you're getting into.
Again,
right?
Expectations, right?
But also for me, it shows me that you're interested in continuing and also like the proceeds, right? So, and the hiring manager should be able to tell you that. At the end of the day, like what I said earlier, a interview is a conversation. And as much as I, as an interviewer, want to get to know you and know whether you're the perfect match for my team, you should take that chance to get to know the company, whether it lives up to, the career page and whatever. Because at the end of the day, a company markets itself, right?
Of course.
And you
100%.
as an employee, you need to make sure that this is the company and the manager, even more important, you want to work for. So you need to ask those questions that get you that answer.
Yeah. I agree. So definitely do not leave that interview without what are the next
steps. Exactly. Yeah. To also know, is this going to take a week, 2 weeks? Possible next steps in Germany is another interview, yes. A technical interview if it's a technical job.
Yeah.
But also, for example, a trial day, like trial work to see you in action, because you can talk much, but I want to see you how quick you are to think, how fast you are to learn, how you behave with the team, all of those things that can happen.
Yeah, I agree. I would say from the multiple jobs. So let's say I've been employed. I don't know. Let's say 5 jobs. I cannot. Okay, wait. Let's say 5 jobs.
Which is very atypical, because again, loyalty in Germany is big, and it's quite normal that you spend several years, more than 1 or 2 in a company.
Yeah, but as a developer, it's so nice to find a new project. Anyways, but long story short, I've been maybe employed by 5 different companies. And out of those, I've never had a trial day in any of these companies. My point being that some companies might offer a trial day, some might not. But there was one company that I worked for who the general process did not include a trial day, but the guy asked, I want to have a trial day. And they gave him a trial day because also the guy wanted to figure out, is this a company for me? I want to see what a day looks like in the day-to-day life. So just because there is no trial day does not mean that you cannot get a trial day.
Again, ask for what you need to answer to yourself.
Yeah.
Is this the company I work with?
Okay, I would like to correct. Actually, I've worked 4 jobs in Germany.
Okay, so 4 jobs, more like 8-9 years. That's like average of 2 something. That's still okay-ish.
Yeah, well,
No, but also don't get me wrong. Like, no, don't think, oh my God, I have to stay there like 5 years. No. So, generally speaking, everyone can find a company that they might not be happy with and then change. But if you change like
every
5
year.
companies every year,
Yeah.
that is not so, that in Germany, that is not, that's frowned upon.
Yeah, I would
Let's
say,
just
but
put
if
it
you
that
stay
way.
an average of 2 years, that's okay.
I would say 2 years and more is okay, as long as you can always argue it and tell why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So number 10 on our list, which I have not really done in all my interviews actually, but is to actually follow up after the interview.
Correct. Yeah, and I think it's super important because so there's two aspects of it. One, an interview the goal of an interview for you is to get the job. So you need to provide information and you need to convince the interviewers that you are the best person to do this job and to get the team, the company to the goal. So you need to stand out and you need to stay top of mind because most likely there will be several other candidates, right, that will be interviewed.
Yeah.
And several other candidates, it's easy to like, oh, how was this again? But if you send a follow-up email, it's one more step to stay on top of mind. Because you can send the follow-up email a few hours later, depending on at what time the interview was, or the next day. And what should you send there? Thank them for the time and the conversation. Maybe relate to something that stuck with you in the interview that really made you ponder, that you really related with, and point that out. As a reason as why you are convinced even more than before that you are the right person for the job and you really see yourself and identify with the culture and the company and whatever.
Like you're convincing me here. Yes.
Obviously, if you want the job, right?
Yeah.
And for the interviewer, I'm like, oh, okay, this person is really invested. This person is dedicated, and they go the extra mile.
And they're super motivated to work for this company.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
On the other hand, like when I interviewed, I asked my candidate to send me a follow-up email or a call, whatever. I also had that when I actually was interviewed, I was asked to give a call the next day.
Oh, okay.
Because my the manager there said, I don't believe in rash decisions. I always have the 24-hour rule. So if in 24 hours you still want the job, then give me a call.
Oh, interesting.
So there are different tactics behind this. But I also asked for like an email to exactly that, to see, is the person serious? Do they remember that I asked them to follow up? And what do they say? And I also, when I did this, I sometimes got the answer like, hey, thank you for your time. It was what you told me, what I got to see of the company. I really liked it. But I also noticed that this and this and this, and this is why I won't want to pursue this further. And this is the best thing that can happen to an interviewer, because imagine you continue interviewing a person that is not really fully committed anymore. It's just a waste of time.
Yeah.
So I want to know, is the person invested and does the person really want the job?
Yeah, super interesting. Okay, you convinced me. Then everyone follow up after your interviews. Super important. Okay, and we have a plus tip as number 11.
Exactly.
And that is, what language should you actually do the interview in?
This is one of the questions I think that we get asked most, or that gets asked most by foreigners that want to work in Germany, right?
Right.
And I would say go back to the number 1 or 2, the authenticity.
Authenticity?
Authenticity. It depends really on also the job you're applying for and what language it is, right?
Yeah,
if you're applying for a job in English, Spanish, French,
or any other language,
chances are that that interview will also be at least parts in that language, right? In my when I was hiring, like the company language in the office was German, but the company language worldwide was English. So I always tested the English of the person as well, because it was super important. That doesn't mean, I don't know if you just saw the fly flying here. That doesn't mean that if the interview is in English or Spanish, that you should not learn or speak or try to speak German. It says so much that if you make the effort of even just throwing in a few words, if you're a funny person like Jen, like, throw a joke in, or just make the effort in the beginning, like, hallo, guten Tag und vielen Dank und tschüss, oder wie bitte, just the small things that show, again, you're interested, you're making the effort, you're willing to learn, also saying that Germany is not just a 1-year stopover for you, right? And you're just eager to adapt to your new culture and life.
Yeah, I would say, though, not your 1-year stop. I think it depends on the job, because if it's a temporary job,
well,
that's
of
also
course.
fine. However, like in my 4 interviews, well, I've had more than 4 interviews, but in the interviews, so when I first arrived to Germany, my German was like very basic, obviously, and that the whole interview and everything was in English, and the company language was in English, so that was okay-ish. Then I joined a company whose company language was in German, but the dev department, which, by the way, the dev department was another Dev and I, our language is English. English because also the guy was from the UK, British, so that was a lot easier to communicate in English, even though the company language was in German, and our interview was in English. And then I joined this very big German company, right? And there I had the hiring manager plus his manager and his manager all in one room interviewing, and they're all German. And that interview was in English because the whole company's language was 100% German, but this one department's language was in English because of the tech. It was the digital department, and they need a lot of tech people, and as we know, there's a high demand for tech people, and a lot of them are multinational people, so that changes a little bit the now we need to communicate in English.
And gives you the chance of getting a job here.
Yeah, exactly. So there, the interview was in English actually, and there, I cracked some jokes, like you said, in German. I tried my best to show that I can speak some German. I'm willing to learn more German. However, I was very honest in saying, look, these technical things, I will not be able to answer your questions to the best of my ability in German, so I'm gonna have to speak in English. And they were all accepting. So again, be honest and authentic with your skills and what you can and cannot do. I think that also goes a long way to realize, no, I cannot answer this, or I did not understand. Can you repeat it again in English, please? And that was fine. And I got that job, by the way.
Definitely. But if you make no effort of speaking German...
Oh, that is also not a good sign.
Then, yeah.
Yeah, at least make an effort. I think that goes a long way. So now it's promised to our hot tip. If you have not gotten an interview yet in Germany, we have actually a few resources for you. We have a video and an article about how you can prepare your CV. CV in Germany works a little bit different than in other parts of the world, so you can check that video here, or the article is linked in the description box below. We also have another article talking about the cover letter and how you should prepare for that as well as a template that you can download and you can use. So like we mentioned at the beginning, the cover letter and the CV are the ones that are going to get you the interview, but it's the interview, the ones that are going to get you the job.
Couldn't have said it better.
Ha! I have learned here in the whole job industry stuff. If you like this kind of content, make sure to hit that like button and that subscription button with that notification bell so you get notified when we release new content. By you liking this video, that's the easiest way that you can support Simple Germany, because believe it or not, the YouTubes really like likes to say, okay, this is good content and we can show it to other international people in Germany because they're smarts like that. And if you want to go the extra mile to support us,
then you can also click on the link below, coffee.com, where you can donate to us if you like, to us and the channel, to keep growing it and help us to keep pushing forward. And that is in the form value of a coffee. You can choose to have it, it's set as a one-time payment, but you can also choose to make it a recurring monthly payment if you are really our fan and want to support us long term.
Yeah. With that note, we hope you have a very excellent week, and we will see you next Monday. Cheers!